Hey guys, what's up? Caleb Downing here, and real quick, as quick as I can, I'm trying not to drag this out too long. We're going to talk about the Osight, the Olight Osight X, and their new S. Let's get into it. Alright, so disclaimers. Yes, Osight Olight did send me both of these optics for free. Didn't have to pay for it. They didn't give me any money. They didn't pay for ammo, didn't pay for any of that stuff. They just sent me the optics and asked me to make a video and a review about it. So that's what we're doing today. If that messes with your opinion of my opinion on things, then so be it. But as always, we're going to give our honest opinion on how these things work, give our personal experience, and leave it at that. Alright, so as best we can, let's do some specs. Let's talk about what makes these models different than the older one, and then give the high points of what makes each one of these stand out and where I see them being used. Alright, so like we said, we have two different versions. We have the Osight X, and we have the Osight S, this guy right here. The Osight X is an RMR footprint. The Osight S is an RMSc footprint. The Osight S is a fully enclosed emitter system. Really nice. I'm really excited about that one. The Osight X is basically like a larger version of your standard quote-unquote RMR style optics. It's large. If you can tell, it has a large window. It's larger than a lot of other optics out there, even though, what was it, last year, stuff really started coming out, or companies started coming out with larger window optics. That's basically what this guy is. Their older version, right here, is basically the same footprint, slightly different angles and things on stuff. They did keep something, which is very nice, that I think a lot of you would appreciate, because a lot of optics that are similarly styled have large white and red writing on the side, their logo. However, Olight, I guess they, appreciate appeasing the people that, buy this stuff. Their lettering, their logo, their branding is etched into the 6061 aluminum housings, and there's no coloring, so they're very subdued. And I think it's very professional looking, right? That's the same thing they kept on the old version, or something they had on the old version that they crossed over and carried onto the newer versions. So there's no reason to go and get a Sharpie and mark out your logo. So that's actually kind of nice. I know a lot of people, the particular brand that's out there, a lot of people really don't like how they have some very bright logos. You don't have that with these, so that's actually nice. That's a cosmetic thing. That's cosmetic. So what is actually cool about these optics? In my opinion, what's really cool about these optics, tactile audible clicks, which is kind of your standard. You have a multi-reticle system. Personally, I just like the 3 MOA dot on the X version and the 2 MOA dot on the S version. Really appreciate those. The fact that you can change them out and go to a 32 MOA circle on both of them, or a circle dot system, you can do that if you want. I don't really like those style multi-reticle things. I would rather just keep it simple, but the fact that I can just change it and make it simple, I like that. The big thing about both of these is they're both rechargeable. Now this is cool. I don't know of any other optic that's out there that is rechargeable. Obviously flashlights are, stuff with bigger batteries are, but these optics are rechargeable just like their older one. They use this little plastic housing, which this guy is plastic, but it's charged USB-C on one side. Has a little lanyard. This is different than their older version too. It's a little lanyard that you can put through there so you don't lose this, because if you do lose this is the downside. If you did lose this charging system, then you can't charge your unit. Not that great. The X version, the large version, you simply plop this guy down on top. It's going to show you the charge level, and if it is charging, right now this guy is fully charged. Maybe it's at 99% because it had the little battery indicator. It's fully charged, all right? You can also check your battery and this is true on both of these units, on the side here, if you press one of the buttons, and it might show up, it might not, because it's a very dim light, in between the plus and the minus button is a little LED indicator. It lights up for just a couple seconds after you push the button, push either one of those buttons, and it will tell you if it's green, you're like 50 to 100% charged. If it's red, I believe you're below 50%, or no, sorry, if you're orange, I believe it's below 50%. If you're red, it's 20% or below, and if it's flashing red, you're at like 10% or less. So that's a very nice thing that other optics don't do, because they don't use rechargeable optics. They can't tell what the battery charge level is on their batteries. They just don't do that. So a very nice thing about this is that you can check your battery levels. Right? You don't have to have your unit, you can just check your battery levels. It's awesome. In my experience with the older version, and I believe it's carrying over to the newer versions, haven't had these long enough to really test them, but you get about a month, a solid month of battery running full power, constant on, no shake awake on, just constant on, full power. You get about a month run time on the older version, which I'm assuming is going to be the same for these versions. This little guy is a smaller battery, so it's going to have less of a runtime, which is obvious. However, if every 2 or 3 weeks you take your little battery charger, you plop that guy down on top, it's going to top off your battery, keep it charged, and you're not going to have any issues. Like, it's genius to me. I really appreciate that style of system. It's dummy proof. In my opinion, it's pretty dummy proof. Just plop the charger on it and you're good to go. No more having to take optics apart or take optics off to get to the battery underneath, like some big brands out there. And also no worrying about little screws and stuff, because I've had this happen too, where you have your little battery tray. It's like, it's nice you don't have to take the optic off, but if you got to take a battery tray out, then you also have screws you got to keep, accountability of. Make sure they're not over tightened in there and bust the heads off, or under tightened and they work themselves out and the battery tray comes out, because I've had that happen. That's terrible, horrible, no good, very bad day. This is awesome and dummy proof. All right, so that's some of the main cool things about these. If I didn't mention before, these both and the old one, they have a light sensor on the front. So it has, light sensing, so it can auto dim your optic if you want it to. If you don't want to, you can turn that feature off. Personally, the way I like to run my optics is a simple dot at a medium, just maybe slightly brighter than I think I would need it, just in case, I walk outside and it's a little bit brighter, or somebody shines a light, or, a light comes on. So for me, on both of these, I run them on setting 7, which is right there in the middle somewhere. All right, or maybe a little bit higher than just the middle. But I run it on that setting. I use Shake Awake. I have no problem with the Shake Awake system, and no light sensing. No light sensing at all. And the benefit of that is I know the light's going to be on, not the light, I know the optic's going to be on whenever I pick up the gun. When it gets the slightest vibration, the slightest movement, it's going to turn on. And I've never had a problem where I've beat the gun, or I've beat the optic on. Does that make sense? Where I've presented the gun and I beat presenting the gun and then the optic came on. I've never had that problem. I think that came out a little bit wrong. Hopefully it didn't. Hopefully you understand what I was saying. Some things you get with both of these in the box are this is so cool, you get a little tray that has your screws in it. I almost said batteries, but it has your screws in it. Whereas most of the time, you get a bunch of little baggies that have little stickers on them, and it's a mess. And it works, and it's fine, and it's cheap, and it's a convenient way to do it. These are awesome. You have 632, 440, 640, and M3 screws, and you get 6 of each one. So depending on what host you're going to run these things on, more than likely you're going to have the screws that are going to work. And if they're too long, you can trim them. They come in different lengths and sizes. This is genius. This is an attention to detail thing that I wish other companies would follow suit and do. Get away from the stupid little baggies. I know it's cheap. I know it's easy to do. But this is a convenient way to have your mounting screws just ready to go. They're labeled. Comes with your little tool to install them and everything. And on your little card that comes with your optics, it's going to give you your torque values. Now, obviously, you can't get proper torque values with this, but you can, get by in a pinch with mounting everything up with this guy. But if you want to use proper torque, it gives you your proper torque. It's just, again, little attention to detail things that I really, really appreciate. To make sure we hit everything, we have, if you open up your box, you get your optic, you get your battery, charger, case thing, whatever you want to call that. You get your little tool with your windage and elevation on one side, and then your screws on the other, your mounting screws on the other side. Your mounting screws, your charging cable, which is USB-C for charging your charging block. You get a lanyard, which again is nice. This was different than the older version. It didn't have a little lanyard hole in here, so now you can put a little lanyard in here so you don't lose this, because if you lose this, you can't charge your optic, which would be a bad day. So don't lose this guy. Keep that plugged in, charged by the bed or something, whatever. You also get a little baggie and a little microfiber cloth thing that you can put everything in, keep it all put away, keep it in your nightstand drawer, wherever you want to keep it, or keep it on your desk, or do whatever you want to do with it. But it comes with all that stuff, which is everything you really need to get going and start using these things. For this guy, for the X model, well, no, this is actually for both of them. The older model, the big thing that I heard people talk about that they didn't like is there's this little, let me make sure I put it on the right way. On the back here, hopefully you'll be able to tell, the back of the optic is right here. The charging block kind of sits over. It has a shelf. It sits over. And some people, I didn't have this problem, but some people have had a problem where that portion that goes over was bumping into their backup sites. So for instance, here's the original version and the original charger. I have some big sites on here, some big iron sites. I did not have a problem. It set right on there and it charged. I didn't have a problem. Some people though did have a problem with it. If this was much off, much different at all, then it would have a problem. It would not connect properly. All right. On the newer version, they fixed that. Get this guy out of here. On the newer version, when this guy sits down, hopefully we can see this on here. Get that out of the way. When this guy sits down, here's the flush back side of the optic. When this guy sits down, it's flush with the back of the optic, meaning you could have your irons right up there on the back of that optic and you're still going to be able to charge. That is very convenient. Again, that is Osight paying attention to what people were talking about, taking customer feedback into account, not just being like, well, you need to get better backup sites, you know, and we'll make a set of backup sites that you can use and you can buy and replace your backup sites. No, they didn't do that. They fixed a problem some people were having. Again, I wasn't having that problem, but other people were, and they fixed that. So kudos to them for moving forward and trying to innovate and trying to make their product better. That is one big reason, that's one big thing that I have personally seen Osight, Olight, whatever you want to call them, I've seen them do. They have taken into account what customers have said and they have changed products and made things better. That's not what I've seen other companies do, where they, in my opinion, they feel a little hoity-toity and a little higher, smarter than you, and they know what's best about their optics. So if you have a problem, it's your problem, not theirs. I don't like that kind of attitude. I don't see that with, again, how they are changing things and updating their products to accommodate and, you know, accommodate the feedback that the customers are giving them. I'm gonna leave that there, but take that with a grain of salt if you need to, but that's been my experience, all right? Moving on, make sure this guy didn't fall off the table. Moving on to what I consider the star of the show, the belle of the ball, is the Osight S, the small one. This is a fully enclosed red dot. Now, that's nothing new necessarily, but a fully enclosed red dot that has, you know, the integrated rear sights and the charging capability that it has. This is awesome. This is awesome. This should make a lot of these other optics companies out there just shiver, because this is ingenuity. Now, I don't see anybody else doing this. Maybe other people are thinking about it. Maybe other people started designing it. I'm not sure. Maybe at SHOT Show it'll all come out. There'll be other companies doing this. I don't know. But Olight's been doing this for a year with their charging on their regular Osight. The fact that they have now shrunk everything down into an enclosed emitter optic that has all these features, all the features that the other sight has, the Osight X, all the features it has with the multi-reticle system. This guy's a 2 MOA dot instead of the 3, which is the larger one. That's really the only difference in the reticle differences. Still shake awake. You can still do constant on if you want. It has the light sensor in the front if you really want to have that auto dimming effect, or you can turn all of that off. I think that's awesome. All right, both of these feature a 1 meter, or they say they have a 1 meter drop rating, and I did test that. All right, my personal opinion on drop testing is you could break an optic if you want to break it. If you really want to break it, you can go break it. And I've broken many optics, right? I've done some drop tests and things. I generally don't do them. I mean, sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. It just depends. I don't know. Maybe I should standardize it like some people do, which would probably be really smart. But what I have come to really value, really try to show is that if you're going to drop your optic, right, if you're going to drop your gun, it's probably going to be from about a meter high. It's probably going to be from about mid-chest to waist high. Whether that be you accidentally drop the gun or you go to reholster the gun and drop it. I don't know why you would do that, but maybe you would do that. Or more than likely it would fall off of a table, it would fall off of the tailbed of a truck, something like that. That makes a lot of sense of a practical, like that's how you actually could drop the gun. So that's all going to be about a meter high. All right, 3 feet, 4 feet maybe. That seems to be about the most practical height. And so I brought both of these out. The ground was frozen solid, so it wasn't concrete and it wasn't rocks. It was frozen solid ice, and we dropped both of these. And both of them continued to work. They didn't die. The glass didn't break on either one of these. I was actually very surprised, especially on the X model, because it's such a big window, large glass. Really thought maybe we would have an issue there. When I went to go check zero, the X did not hold zero, and it wasn't the Osight X fault. If you can tell, if you can look on here, it's going to be kind of hard to tell. The riser actually bent. Now this is not an Olight riser, and this is not an Olight RMR adapter. They didn't come with either one of these. These are really generally made for pistols. These sights are made for pistols. However, Osight did want me to try these out on a riser. Didn't have one of their risers, so it's not their fault. This is actually another company's deal. And it bent the front of the riser. So whenever I drop this, like MP5s are not lightweight guns necessarily. It's a bunch of steel and stuff, right? And I had a magazine that wasn't fully loaded, I don't think, but it was at least halfway loaded. They smacked nice and solid each time on the stinking optic. And I am very surprised that the glass did not break, and that there was no issues with, you know, reconnecting and charging. Like, this guy will still charge. He still goes on there and he still will charge. Had no issues with, you know, that charging port on top. I was a little worried about that, to be honest. I was a little worried about that. But as far as the optics goes, neither one of them broke. Neither one of them, well, I can't really say if this guy lost zero or not because the optic or the mount itself failed. But the little guy, right, the Osight S, he did not lose zero. We put him back on paper and he did not lose zero. Everything worked and functioned just as it was supposed to do. All right, so that is a quick little look at the Osight S for small and the Osight X for large, I think. The stuff that comes in the boxes, your basic specs, I mean 60-61 housings. Yes, these little housings are made out of plastic. I think that's what the material's referencing. Your run times, they're going to vary. It depends on which brightness setting you have, but you're talking tens of thousands of hours. I believe your Osight S, you're running around 22,000 hours, give or take some. Your Osight X, you're running potentially up to 50,000 hours. And I can give personal testimony on the older version. This guy runs about a month before you got to charge it. And if they didn't change anything, then there you go. Every 3 weeks, if you top off your batteries, you're going to be fine. That is well worth it to me to at least consider these for that, right? As far as like quote unquote duty grade, where would I put these things? Honestly, I've carried this guy and I have no issues, no problem. I have confidence that it's going to work because it has continued to work. It's shown no signs of failure. Things that stand out to me that give me that confidence are a solid mounting system, right? It's not some weird hoiky-doiky, you know, footprint. It's a solid mounting system. The glass is nice and clear. The reticle is nice and crisp. I have stigmatism, so everything is a little bit blurry, but that's on me. That's not on the optics themselves. The adjustments on all of these are tactile and audible, and they all zeroed relatively easily, right? I'm not sitting there chasing my zero all over the place and just going crazy and nuts. It was relatively easy, relatively simple to fire a few rounds, see where that center is, adjust my reticle, do a couple, you know, small adjustments after that, and call it good. Other optics that I have out there that I've used before, they don't zero well. And when they don't zero well, that tells me that there's mechanical issues on the inside where stuff's moving when it's not supposed to move, and I don't like it. These haven't had that problem. So all those things combined, it gives me personally, excuse me, getting a little emotional here. It gives me personally a higher degree of confidence in these optics versus other optics in their class. And the class is around the, I think, $250 to $300-ish price point, which again, that, I mean, you're going to pay for what you get, but I think you're getting the higher end of getting what you pay for when you pay for these things. So I would love to hear back from you guys. I really, really would. What's your opinion on these optics, on these features? Is this something you would consider looking at? And those of you that have actually used these optics, I would love to hear your experience. There's a difference there, opinion and experience. There's a lot of people on the internet that have opinions about stuff, but they've never used the product, whatever it is. There's a good amount of people out there that have experience, and we really want to hear from you guys. If you have experience with these, let us know. If you have an opinion about it, great, let us know. But if you have experience, we really, really like to know. That's it. Try to keep this thing short and sweet. Olight, Osight, I appreciate you guys sending these things out. I really want to hear what all you guys have to say about this. What's your opinion? What's your experience? All right, Caleb Downing, hope you appreciate that. Hopefully we'll catch you guys in the next video. See ya.